What's up? Y'all running from it. What's up?
We not running from it. You know, I was there in real time.
You and Jay-Elect.
I was there in real time. I was in the overflow room, man.
You spray baby oil on you?
No, I didn't spray. Never. But the Puff tried. The Puff verdict. Yeah, Puff verdict came down, man. The biggest charge, the RICO charge, he was found not guilty. Right?
RICO and sex trafficking, found not guilty.
Yep.
And then what was he found guilty on?
The transportation for the purpose of prostitution.
Yo, Ish. We called that one.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, he did. How do we feel?
Well, wait. First, describe what was the energy in the overflow
Okay,
room.
so when
we saw some footage outside the courtroom.
When the verdict came down, outside erupted. I mean, they went crazy. The people were there hugging each other. Some people were crying. I didn't know what was going on. That's what I saw outside. And also when I arrived, they were having a baby oil off, like pouring baby oil on each other and dancing. This guy named
So
Ahmad.
they did that before the verdict got
No, the verdict came down and they started to do that.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then the next
Was
thing,
there a Walgreens close by, or did they just come
They
straight?
brought that
they
shit
brought that
with
there.
them.
Yeah.
Pre-planned.
And you didn't.
No, I'm not. Come on, Parks. That Queens Flip. I'm not throwing no baby oil, man.
That's not helping. I'm Queens Flip. Does not.
I'm not doing it. I want to do it, but I also represent the JBP.
That's true.
So I'm not going out there throwing baby oil on my body and doing that. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's what I saw when I got there. Then my mom took me inside, and when he got denied bail, the overflow room was like, oh, they were so angry.
Put the baby oil back down.
Yeah, they was angry.
Well, how do we feel about the verdict? How do we feel about the decision made by a jury of his peers?
I think that's right.
Yeah, I feel like justice was served. I can say that now. I feel like, based off the evidence and stuff like that, based off of the facts that they presented, it wasn't a RICO charge. I mean, he got charged with the Mann Act. The Mann Act started with Jack Johnson, the boxer from back in the days. I feel like justice was served. I feel like we all can identify the type of person he is when it comes to him being in a relationship. But I just feel like some people are into freaky shit and some people are complicit into freaky shit. And it's a gray area, it's a gray line when it becomes to wanting to do it and wanting not to do it this time. And I just feel like based off the evidence, justice was served.
I think that even if they were able to prove it in some factual ways, I like that it seems like the intent of the law was taken into account here. And I don't think the intent of the law was to go after a horny individual, even if he may be an abusive, monster, manipulative, all that shit. Like, I don't think that was the purpose of that law, or the sex trafficking law was not to fly prostitutes in, even if on paper it may be dead to rights.
That ain't what it was.
That's not what it was intended for.
I never even thought of it like that. I was actually shocked, to be honest. I just thought that shouts to the jury for actually being able to follow the definition of the law, because I figured that the video that was shown, the testimony, like they basically were trying him for being a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And we know what we hear about the feds. So I'm thinking, damn, they got him. Because they do have him at being a piece of shit. Sure. And, you can taint somebody's viewpoint of you. The facts really don't matter after that. But they stuck to the facts, and the facts justified these charges. So, salute.
I think the opposite of I think everybody has points, and I never considered your point with the intent. I think that the intent is different than the factual basis.
Right.
So ICE is like they followed the law. They didn't follow the law. If they would have followed the quote unquote letter of the law, he would have got convicted. I think that they did look at the nuance of the situation,
right,
and look at the intent, and that's why he got exonerated for the trafficking charges. I don't think the RICO would have ever stuck, because I don't think Puff was operating a criminal enterprise around sex trafficking.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Like the Abercrombie and Fitch niggas, they got them niggas dead to rights. Like, yo, you flying people out for the purpose of selling ass
to
other people.
Right.
Commercially.
Right.
Puff wasn't doing that. You You understand what I'm saying? So the RICO thing, I don't think would have ever stuck. I think that it was a gray area with regards to the sex trafficking piece. And again, we've read the charges up here several times. We don't have to do that. But I think that the jury did find a gray area. And I also think the jury took into account the nuance of hip hop or wealthy men or whatever the case may be, and how their lifestyles are. You know what I'm saying? And I think that justice was served. His sentencing will determine if the extent of the justice, but I think that they got it right.
Because there's no mandatory minimum.
Let's get the sentencing separately.
Yeah.
Okay. Mel, how you feeling?
I just think that, for the defense, all they had to do was hope for a reasonable doubt, and there just was a lot. For the jury to be listening to this, and there's a juror who's already making the rounds,
that's coming.
The alternate juror or the juror?
The alternate juror.
Yeah.
I saw an alternate juror. He was already.
Yeah, he's already talking. He was basically saying that, they watched video of the freak offs, and his word that he used was, it was kind of tame. And all they did was kind of like pet each other or whatever words he used.
Sounds like a Molly party to me.
Yeah, that's kind of what he made it seem like. And
preset prosecution and defense chose different pieces of the freak off video to present. He's saying in both that we saw, it was pretty tame.
Yeah, right. I mean, like when it comes to...
It looked like consensual.
Yeah. That's what he said.
Yeah, when it comes to court cases, it's theater.
Let me just stop this video real fast. Sean Combs avoiding the most serious charges is a huge moment, but the two guilty verdicts still carry weight. While he won't face life in prison, the convictions show the court didn't let him off completely. It's a mixed outcome. He beat the major charges, but his reputation and legal battles are far from over. With sentencing coming in October and dozens of civil lawsuits ahead, this is only one chapter in a much bigger story.
Like, it's theater. Who presents the best set of, who creates the best storyline, and who presents the facts in a way in which the jury is convinced without reasonable doubt. And unfortunately, that wasn't done here. There was just too much gray area with, contradictory testimony. And so there's just so much nuance when it comes to what people understand about abuse and coercion. There's just not enough understanding to be able to make a decision based around that. There's some people who can look at this and say these women were victims or these people were victims, and there's other people that don't believe that at all. And then that right there is the gray area of which we speak. And that right there is where I could see the jury walking in there and saying, there's too much reasonable doubt here to convict on those particular charges.
I'm pretty interested to see how this all plays into like the celebrity boogeyman.
That's the other thing too.
Trope, which probably started with like the Pizzagate and all that shit.
Yeah.
Like, we now have like footage of one of the biggest celebrity boogeymen that we've seen, and he was acquitted on it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like celebrities, I certainly get not feeling sorry for them, but I think it's also weird to just automatically assume, oh, he's rich and famous, he's doing super nefarious shit.
Well, the opposite could actually be said, because let's take LA County. Every time that the celebrity goes on trial for some heinous act, Robert Blakely, was that his name? Don't worry about it. O.J. Simpson, Robert Blake, yeah, because it was Bonnie Lee Bakley. That was his wife that was murdered. Phil Spector was the first celebrity trial where a guilty verdict was issued in like 40 years. So for the most part, celebrities tend to get off. There's just that wow factor of watching celebrities on, and also buying into who they are. Like in the case of like Puff, he's created like the soundtrack to our lives, and so there's that kind of connection that we feel with them that will, that might sway our decision making.
Sean Combs, also known as Diddy, faced a major federal trial in 2025 that drew national attention due to both his celebrity status and the serious nature of the charges. He was originally indicted on 5 federal counts, including allegations of conspiracy and illegal transportation across state lines. The case was tried in a Manhattan federal court and featured weeks of witness testimony, evidence from electronic messages, travel records, and surveillance footage. The prosecution portrayed Combs as someone who used his fame and resources to engage in and organize inappropriate conduct over several years, while the defense argued that the case lacked sufficient proof of criminal intent or coordinated wrongdoing. On July 2, 2025, after more than 3 days of deliberation, the jury returned a split verdict. Combs was found not guilty on 3 of the 5 charges, including the most serious ones, but was convicted on 2 counts related to transporting individuals for unlawful purposes under a federal law known as the Mann Act. Each of the 2 counts he was convicted of carries a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison, making the total possible penalty 20 years, though experts widely believe the actual sentence will be significantly lower. Prosecutors have requested a sentence of just over 5 years, while Combs' legal team is asking for a sentence closer to 2 years, citing his lack of prior convictions and nearly 10 months already spent in federal custody. The judge, citing public safety concerns and specific pieces of video evidence presented during the trial, denied bail, and Combs is currently being held at a facility in Brooklyn while he awaits sentencing, which is scheduled for October 3, 2025. Although the verdict means Combs avoided the harshest penalties and was cleared of the most damaging accusations, the 2 convictions still represent a serious legal and personal setback for the entertainment executive. His legal team has announced plans to appeal the verdict, possibly challenging some of the evidence and procedures used in court. Meanwhile, Combs also faces ongoing civil lawsuits from over 60 individuals, many of which seek financial damages and have been paused pending the outcome of the criminal case. These lawsuits are expected to resume soon and may continue into the following year. Public reaction to the trial outcome has been divided. Some view the split verdict as a form of legal vindication, while others believe the convictions reflect broader accountability. Despite no longer facing the most extreme charges, Combs' reputation, career, and public image have been significantly affected, and the coming months will likely determine how both the courts and the public ultimately judge his actions and legacy.